Okay, so now we're going to refactor our quoter app, and I thought this would be a really good opportunity for us to think about design factors and things like that. So the current app uses JSON data. We have a large data set of quotes that we got from everyone in the class. It reads the data once from an external file, and then it creates a feed, which the user can turn on or off, where it feeds a quote every 3 seconds and shows all the data attached to the quote. So the tags and the provider and the author and the quote text. So now we're going to refactor. We want to be able to display more than one quote at a time, and we didn't design our app to allow for that. So right now, it's really locked in to only showing a single quote at a time. We also want to allow the user to search, and that will return a set of matching quotes. And again, we're going to show those not one at a time, but all at once. And then we also want to retain the existing functionality that we built in with the quote feed. Okay? Our goal is to create an efficient solution. We want to reuse the previous code where it's possible, where it makes sense to do so. And we want to be careful not to just hack it in a way that creates an inefficiency. Okay, so let's take a look at this, and hopefully this will make sense for you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to make sure I don't lose the code that I already have is I'm going to create a new working directory and copy all the existing code into it. Now, an alternative to this would be to use a content management system like Git or Mercurial. And later on, I'll probably get into that, however, maybe not in this course. So I'm in my JSON quoter directory. This is the latest version. There's actually a few extra files in here. So I'm going to start by creating a new folder, and we'll call this quote refactor 1. How about V1, version 1 there? And again, the idea is the main difference is this is going to have the capability of displaying multiple quotes. So I'm going to just grab the files that I need. That PowerPoint's actually there for my videos that I'm making, and I have my own quotes JSON here, but master quotes JSON is the one that has all the quotes. So I'm going to copy these, go to the new directory, and paste them in. And then, of course, the very first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and open these in Dreamweaver. And I think I can just oops, let's see. Sorry about that. Okay, I made a mistake. I didn't close the files yet from previous ones. So let me go back into Dreamweaver, close all, and then I'll just resize this, and then I'll grab the new files. You got to be real careful when you're working with multiple versions. It's real easy to make a mistake and screw up your work. And that's why I'm doing this carefully by creating the new working directory. Okay, so it looks like we're good here. Probably won't need this again. I'll just go ahead and minimize my folders there. And now we'll open the jQuery, Dreamweaver. And okay, so now we have to think about this. So the first thing right off is if I go to the index.html, I have this quote display, okay? And that looks pretty good. I could put more than one quote in here. And so maybe what I want to do is to create an internal div for each one. So I could do something like this, div, and then this won't have an ID, but it'll have a class. So class equals Q, let's see, so quote display is our master one. So we'll call this QDiv. So a QDiv will be a display of an individual quote. Okay, and I'll just come on down here and close that div off. So basically now the idea here is that I want to have my code generate these qdiff blocks, and then I can have multiple ones here, and then I can just use the append function in jQuery to add them to the quote display. And so a good goal for my first version of this is just to display all the quotes from my JSON data into the quote display. Then I'll add the functionality of the search. Okay, so again, we want to work incrementally. We need to think carefully about what we're doing. Okay, so I am going to save this new version here, and now I have to go look at the code. Okay, so basically this is not going to work anymore because it's basically all geared to get these little subversions, but now there'll be multiple ones. And so I think I'm not going to really need those anymore. Instead, let's go ahead and again, I'm going to go very carefully. So instead of just deleting them, I'll comment them out, and then we'll learn. Okay, so that gets the quote button. I'm going to need to get my quote display. So we'll say var q. Oops, I want that to be camel case. Q display equals string, and then that's going to be a ID selector, and then in my HTML that's quote display. Okay, so I'm going to use that now. All right, let's see, we'll come on down here. So this creates the quote array. That's great. I'm going to continue to use that, and actually I want it to do that. So when the page first loads, it'll go ahead and read all the quotes into the array called quotes. Okay. Now this get new quote I'm going to change, and basically I have to think carefully about this now. So I've got these variables in here that help me figure out a new random quote, and I want to keep that. And notice also though that this quote span.html is using the qspan, aspan, and pspan things. So basically what we want to do first off is we want to rewrite this so that get new quote will return a quote div like this, and we'll go ahead and put it here in the quote display. Now I'm also going to have to add some markup to style the quote, the author, and the provided tags. And because I'm going to need to do the code here that's going to change those, it kind of makes sense for me to do that now. So let's go to our CSS. You can see I'm going to jump around a little bit here as we go. So I started to set this up. So you see I have display labels here, and that's a generic selector. So if I go back here into my HTML, I can add that in. And so basically what I'll do is I'll wrap a span here around each one of these to apply this class. So span class equals dot, and then that should be display label. And I want that to be singular, so I think I'll go back into the CSS and make sure that it is. And there's the CSS. Yeah, so we'll make that display label. So this is something I started to do before and didn't implement. Now I want to make sure I implement it because I'll have to put it into the code. So it'd be better to do it now and get it all fixed up. Okay? So basically what this does is it's going to just allow me to put style on these labels that go before the quotes. So I'm just going to very quickly paste this in before each one. And then I'm going to come on back here and close the span out here with that. So that's the closing span. Whoops, there we go. And I thought Dreamweaver is going to be a little bit friendlier here, but since it's not, I'll just copy that and come down here and paste it in. Okay? And let's see. Let's see. Oh, that's weird. It seems like I already did that one. Okay, looks like we're good. Oh, you might notice here that I have this trailing bracket. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do that, but I think I'll go ahead and leave that for now. And let's see, class equals dot display. Oh, you know what? I don't want the dot in there. That needs to go in the CSS, but not in the actual label, right? Okay. And then I need a closing span here. I always worry about it when Dreamweaver doesn't pick up the closing tag correctly. All right, let's fix these real quick. Glad I caught that. There we go. Okay. All right, we'll save our work. I don't know if we'll be able to tell this or not here, but let's go ahead and run the, okay. All right, so I broke something. Oh, right, I broke the JS. But you can see the quote author provided by and tags are all being displayed with that display label. Okay, that's good. All right, let's get back to the JavaScript. So again, now I'm not going to use all those individual elements. I'm going to have this just build the quote diff. Let me check that again in my HTML. This right here, div class equals qdiff. Okay. In fact, I'm just going to copy that. I'll come on over here into the script and build the qdiff element. Okay. So basically, I'm going to just copy this in here, and I'll create a local variable called content var content equals actually I don't even need to set that yet, so we're going to do that right here. Okay, so content equals quote qdiff. Now one little trick that I can use here is I can use the single quotes inside the double quotes. So I do that all the time here, and it saves me trouble. So now we're just going to add this stuff in, and let's go ahead and look back again at our index.html. And whoops, what the hell, how'd that happen? That's all supposed to be display label. Okay. All right. And honestly, I can just grab this whole block here to save time. So I'm just going to do this. And let's see, I've got the first part in there already. So there we go. All right, so let's grab that and go back into our script block. This will get ugly for a hot second here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep adding to my content. So this will be content plus equal. So we start content out with that, and then now we'll paste in that massive thing and start to fix it. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll have this span and quote and span, and then let's see. Okay, we don't really need to have the ID in there anymore for the quote text. Let's see, let me think a second. Yeah, you can't, because we're going to have multiple quotes. That would mean we'd have multiple instances of the same ID. So let's change these to class. And I'll have to fix that in the CSS too. Okay. Now, okay, there's the, okay, so right here's where the content goes. All right, so let's check this through. I'll change these to single quotes. And then here's where my content actually goes, and that's actually down here. So I'll just go ahead and grab that and interpolate that right in here. So and we're good. Let's see here. Okay, so there's my first one. So I finished just the first line, and you can see these are going to be pretty similar here. So let's see if it's going to be better to copy them. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I just have to remember. So what I'll do is I'll insert some space here, and then I can delete this when I'm done with it. And so I'm just going to go through and add the components again. So we'll start with the next one here. And instead of quote, this is author. And then the ID is going to change to a class, and it'll be author text. Okay, so where is that? Right there. So this becomes author text, and then of course instead of text, this is going to be author. I can check that down there. There that is. And now I'm ready to do the next one, which is the provider. So we'll come down here. Let's make it pretty while we're doing it here. I don't like to have it make it readable. All right. Oh, okay. I don't need to do that. I can just copy it. I already have it in the buffer. Oops, sorry about that. All right, and then this should be the provider. And then again, this now is provider text. And then, of course, instead of text, this will be provider. And then we'll do our last one, which is our tags. That's trifle different here. So this is going to be tags, colon, space, square bracket, and then down here at the end, let's see. Yeah, okay, good. I'm going to have, let's see, span class. Oh, right. So for this last one, I have to add this extra display span in here. So this is actually going to go like so, right here. Then I'll have the closing square bracket, and then I have the closing span for that. And it seems like I also need to have the quote text span, and that ends right here. Yep. Okay, so again, this markup can get kind of complicated when you have it all nested like this, but I think we're in good shape. Okay. All right. Oh, and I almost forgot. I have to fix this last thing. And notice this is a little bit more involved here. So basically, this one is going to be this whole expression like we figured out before. I'm not going to explain that again. You should already know that from the previous video there. All right, that's looking pretty good. I think now we can delete all this. And now while I'm thinking about it, you see how it starts with a div? I got to put a div there on the end too. Don't really need to have that BR there, so I'll get rid of that because that's the last one, so we don't need a BR at the end. Okay, so now what we've done is we've built the QDiv document, or element, and so you see this part that originally updated the page, we're not going to do that anymore. So we can go ahead and delete those lines. And then let's pull up this white space, clean things up a little bit. Okay, now how do we update the GUI? Well, if we're doing an individual quote, we just add it in. And so now function get new quote will do that. And so let's go ahead and just do that. So I'm sorry, I'm not being very clear. I'm trying to think ahead about how it's going to work when I have multiple quotes. And right now I don't have that solved. But basically I'm going to assign this to quote display as the inner HTML. So let's go ahead and save this, go back here, and then quote display is Q display. That's my variable. So then Q display dot HTML. Again, that's jQuery, which is that, and then we just put our content. So content right there. Okay. All right. Let's see. So this will continue. I think it should work now. Let's try it real quickly and see if it works. I might not quite have it, but I think I do actually. So let's see what happens here. So far, so good. Oh yeah, excellent. So everything's working fine. We got it all refactored. And we just did a small change in the code. So there's no change in the functionality yet, but we've begun to reorganize the code. So it's always good to work incrementally like this. I'm going to go ahead and stop and save the video, and then we'll continue on. So that was about 20 minutes of coding I just did.